So this is how it works when you paint it as you're doing the final sanding steps, and you paint some primer on it so that you can see your low spots and high spots. So what I'm doing is I'm just running it over. You can feel the big spots that need fixed, and there's a lot that needs fixed on this, so don't think I'm anywhere close to finishing. This is just so the parts that are ready for this I can do, and the parts that aren't I'll be refilling and whatnot. Anyways, so this was all one color, just like it is over here. Now I've sanded it down a little bit, just a little bit, and then you can see the high spots and low spots a lot better. So then I just take my sandpaper, and because I'm doing a round shape, I want to sand in all different directions. So usually I would be just sanding in one direction, but in order to get a good shape out of this, I want to sand in multiple directions. Not in little circles. That's not what I mean. Not like this. I mean like this. And that'll help you shape a curve, if you will. I'm not a professional body person. This is just years of experience, what I've come up with myself. Actually, not all of it's been myself. What I've learned from other people that I've hobby car building with, as well as taking some of the stuff I've learned from other people and making it fit me, whatever that means with the different principles. And then, I've probably picked some stuff up on YouTube here and there. I can't specifically remember anything, or else I would give people credit, but I've been building cars. I'm 41 now, since I was 13. My stepdad at the time came home with a 1969 Volkswagen car Magia that was just a rolling chassis. If you don't know what that means, it's just a body, no motor, no. This didn't even have seats, no transmission, nothing, just a body. And I had no idea. Excuse me. I had no idea about a lot of things in life at that age, but I definitely had no idea how to work on cars, or that I would love and be obsessed with working on cars for the rest of my life. I just knew that I was a teenager now, and that meant I was, almost pretty much an adult, and should be able to do whatever I want, whenever I want, and knew everything, except for how to build a car. Anyhow, so I was pretty mean to him, I think. I remember being really upset about it, feeling like he was patronizing me because I had been talking a lot about getting my driver's license. Being in Idaho and working on farms, I was 14 when I got my driver's license, and I knew that that's what was going to happen, and I was very excited about that prospect. So I'd been talking a lot about it, and trying to figure out how that all works and what the steps I needed to take and whatnot. So I definitely felt like he was kind of being an asshole and patronizing me, like, you think you're so much of a fucking adult now and know everything. Haha, I'm gonna get you a car that doesn't even run or have a motor or anything in it. In actuality, he was doing one of the best things anybody's ever done for me, which was provide me with the thing that would be one of the most satisfying things gratifying, fulfilling things that I ever did. And that car represented not only freedom for a teenager, but competency as a woman, being able to build my first car myself. And then it also ended up being symbolic for what hard work and dedication, perseverance will do and how it pays off. It was a huge, huge game changer in my life, and I wouldn't be the person I am, the good qualities, if that would have never happened. Who knows what kind of valley girl I would have turned out to be like. But I'm eternally grateful for him for many things. He was also a master electrician, and all of my electrical knowledge and skills come from him. I was getting into trouble as a teenager, big surprise. And when I wasn't at school, or when I was suspended from school, or whatever, weekends, whatnot, he would force me to go to these jobs with him. And he would force me to learn electrical work. And I was just so off-put and mad about all of this. And how dare he try to teach me something. Anyhow, so he said that he would match me dollar for dollar on that car for parts and a motor and all this, but I would have to do the work, and he would teach me how. And he would give me a hand every once in a while when I absolutely needed it, not when I wanted it, which meant, like, would have been nice to have him right now to lift this transmission and put it on that jack so I can put it underneath the bus. But instead, I built, before I got the motorcycle jack, I didn't have any money at all to do this, so I was trying to make something out of nothing, which is something I'm good at. So I welded this out of a bunch of pieces of metal and some scissor jacks that were underneath the trailer, and painted it salmon because I didn't want to rust. This is a door that swings underneath, and the measurements are exactly fit for this transmission, for that, and then the counterbalance, whatnot. Anyhow, so right now what I'm using it for is to get it off of that and onto that, because that doesn't go up high enough to get up that high. So I'm putting it on there, lowering it like a little elevator, and then putting it on there. And then before I do that, there's going to be the boards that are underneath there will be along here, and I'm just going to leapfrog them until I get them underneath the bus and up in there, and then raise it and figure out how to get that torque converter on the flywheel bolted up. And we are so close to being back on the road again. I can taste it. Anyhow, so I did that with that Carmagia. Within a year of getting my driver's, the day I went to test, do the actual driving portion of the test, was the first time we started that car up. And I had planned it, I tried to plan it so that that would be the day that we first started it, and I would be able to drive it and test in it. And that is exactly what happened. And I didn't pass the test, but that's okay. I passed the second time, but I think I was so cocky and so full of myself that I needed a little humility, because I went into that DMV just feeling like a god, you know, like I was the coolest person that ever did exist, ever, and exists now, and ever will exist. And everybody should bow to me, because I just built my own car, and I just drove it into the DMV for my driving test for the first time. So, Neil. I'm glad I didn't pass the first time. I was mad then, but looking back, I needed a good dose of humility at that point and juncture in my life. But my stepdad, was extremely helpful in all of that process. Even though I gave him hell back then, he put up with me and never gave up on me and continued to try to mold me into something he saw in me that I didn't see in myself, which was the person I am today. I didn't realize that I could do any of the things he made me aware that I was able to do. I can't thank him enough for all of that. But anyhow, so that's how long I've been doing this deed of Frankensteining my own vehicles. I've never been a numbers matching kind of person. What that means is I want to make whatever car I'm working on, whatever vehicle I'm working on, I want to make it exactly like how the manufacturer made it. And the numbers on the engine block match the numbers on the vehicle's serial number or the VIN number. You know what the forms are that talk about. I went brain fart. But the numbers on the motor, the numbers on the transmission, the VIN number, all of that match what the manufacturer put in it the day it was born. Some people are numbers matching only and think of people like me as not good things. And nowadays I don't care. I'm not as much of a Nazi about things as I used to be, but once upon a time when I was super cool and hardcore rockabilly, I used to look at numbers matching people with disgust and disdain, thinking that they were just a bunch of wealthy titty babies that had nothing better to spend their money on and no imagination. Because anybody can make a car. Anybody with some money can make a car the way it was when it came off the floor. And I still think that about anybody could do it. But nowadays I feel like I have a more appropriate relationship with people who have a different opinion than I do, and don't have to demonize them for that or be a cocky bitch about my way is the right way and everybody else can suck a cunt. I think Buddhism really helped in that process, but anyhow, this isn't about that. So as you can see, as I'm sanding this down, the high spots are showing themselves to us, and the low spots, right? And that is, in my experience, this takes time. All things take time and patience and perseverance. I could be using a coarser sandpaper, but then I would have to come back with this is 150 grit. I could be using 60 or 80. That would be leaving big old chunks in my piece, and then I would have to come back with 200 or 150 or whatever and get those chunks out. To me, I feel like during this part of the process, it kind of defeats the purpose to put low spots in a piece that you're trying to get the low spots out of, by hitting it with 60 or 80 or something harsh and putting chunks in it, or taking chunks out of it, I guess. So hopefully you can tell that I'm going different directions to try to continue to keep that curved shape that I'm after. So I'm not only getting the low sides out right now, I'm also still shaping my piece. So like this, oops, sorry, this dip right here, this canal or whatever, when I started had a very high, it was like a little lake right here. You can see it really well now when I do that. So I'm trying to get that all smoothed out and basically the same shape throughout that whole section coming down our cowl, so that the water will travel down this way and then down this way rather than down and all throughout and then end up inside of here. Water will go to the path of least resistance. So I actually might go grab my Dremel to do some of this, like right in here. I'm going to grab my Dremel and get up in there better. So I'll probably just leave that for right now. I'm not, I'm going to bring this down lower so that the water won't stay right here. I want it down as far as this comes down and then more of a trough there. So I think I'm going to leave it alone for now, that spot, and move on to some other spots because I'm realizing I really want a good dip there so that the water doesn't come down and inside the hypercooler. And to get that, I'll want to use coarser grit or a mechanism to do that, or else I'll be here all night with this. So I'm working on these little pin holes right here. That's what I'm working on now. And why don't I use a sanding block? I would normally use a sanding block on straight stuff, but because this is curved, like on this curve here, I would use something, maybe something similar to that, and then super glue or tape the sandpaper to it. With something like this that's sculpted by hand, I just find that I can feel everything better and I have more success doing it by hand this way. But that's years and years and years of Frankenstein building, doing my own body work and so on. So it's almost pretty much muscle memory at this point that I have. Not everybody would agree that that's the best method, because nobody really agrees on anything 100% in this world. Anyways, there may be a better method. I don't really keep my nose to the ground on a lot of things. Or my ear to the ground, excuse me. I've got mosquitoes attacking me. I need to run in and put some permethrin on. I use permethrin rather than DEET. I get it at the Army Navy, the feed store. It's for cattle and horses. I mix it pretty strong, and that's because I cannot afford to get sick from critters, bugs, mosquitoes, ticks, mites, fleas. All that stuff carries, they're vectors, and they carry diseases, which make us sick, and they carry parasites, nano parasites, like the nematodes and strong voids. With my Lyme's disease, I can't afford, it would probably kill me if I got any sicker than what I am now. So I mix it pretty strong. I want to say 20% permethrin, the rest distilled water. And then I spray it on with the spray bottle liberally all over, just like you would DEET. And that keeps even the flies away from me. And that works pretty good. I'm sure there's lots of people out there that would cringe and freak out, and are just gonna freak out when they hear this. But the thing is that you gotta weigh the risks involved in using a poison like this versus dying. For me, it's very serious. I wouldn't suggest that you do this permethrin application. I wouldn't suggest anybody apply permethrin in this fashion unless it's a life or death serious situation, which it is for me. So I still don't recommend this to anybody. This is simply just me showing you, telling you what I do. If it's good enough for my dog, it's good enough for me. And it has instructions for applying this to your dog, and those are the dosage. That's the dosage I use. Anyhow, I'll let you go so you can get back to something more important, and I'll work on this and show you when I'm